So Jet fans in the New York, New Jersey area got a big thrill with the introduction of their new head coach, Robert Saleh, the first Muslim American head coach for the National Football League. And joining us here to talk all about the state of the New York Jets is NJ.com New York Jets reporter Darryl Slater. Darryl, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So I know this press conference wasn't as memorable as the one they had 2 years ago with Adam Gase. I still laugh at that, by the way. I think Jet fans are happy that it was just a normal press conference. Talk to us. What did you take away from Robert's words, Christopher Johnson's words?
Yeah, the Jets wanted to find a CEO-type head coach, a guy who could be a big picture leader, and Adam Gase really wasn't that. I mean, he concentrated almost exclusively on offense, and that was really to the detriment of the team. He wasn't a clear leader or communicator, and that was what the Jets sought out to find in this coaching search, was a clear communicator, a guy who could command the respect of all the players in the team. And Robert Saleh has a really remarkable journey coming up from Dearborn in the Muslim community there and worked his way up. And really has developed a tremendous relationship and reputation in the NFL and relationship with players for becoming, a CEO type coach, a guy who so for instance, he won't be calling the defensive plays. That's one example, right? He's a defensive coordinator coming from the 49ers, but he said he wants to look at the whole big picture, and the Jets really need that. So I think that was among the big takeaways from yesterday's press conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the trend, right? I mean, I know when football coaches, when they tend to focus on one side of the football, the other side seem to get away. We saw that with the New York Giants, with some of their previous head coaches as well. So I think Jet fans will be very appreciative of that approach. What do you think is in the cards for Sam Darnold here?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways the Jets can go with this because they didn't lose enough games to have the number one pick. They really screwed up by winning last year, which is very, very typical Jets. They have the number 2 pick, and the number 1 pick, of course, will be Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback from Clemson. Everyone thinks he's going to be a great player. But what will the Jets do at number 2? They could take a quarterback from Ohio State named Justin Fields. They could take BYU's Zach Wilson. They could hold on to Sam Darnold. They could try to trade for Deshaun Watson, who is not happy with the Texans. So there's a lot of different ways the Jets general manager, Joe Douglas, can take this thing now that he doesn't have the number 1 pick because Adam Gase screwed up by winning too much. So so that's where the Jets are. There's a lot of uncertainty here. So Sam Darnold absolutely could be back with the Jets in 2021.
Yeah, but, say he does come back. Now, this is his 3rd head coach, his 3rd system. I mean, can he even flourish at this point?
Yeah, that's the big question. Is he salvageable? And I think that the Jets coaching staff, namely Mike LaFleur, who is the offensive coordinator, will have to look at this. His brother, Matt LaFleur, is the Packers head coach and has done a great job there. Of course, it helps having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. It helps make you look good. So what the Jets are going to do is they're going to be running like a West Coast offense, similar to actually what Sam Darnold ran as a rookie. So there is a little bit of familiarity there. He showed some glimmers of hope at the end of his rookie year. And Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur look at that and say, maybe we can find something here. Then again, maybe the Jets make a great offer for Deshaun Watson. They have enough draft picks to do it. Maybe they get Deshaun Watson and trade Sam Darnold away. But I think from a cynical perspective and looking at it from the outside, it is that point, right? We've seen this guy for 3 years and he hasn't been able to put it together. What makes anyone think he can do it now? So if they can salvage him somehow, that would be the best course of action because they wouldn't have to trade for anyone. They wouldn't have to use a high draft pick on a quarterback. But you have to really be kind of skeptical about whether they can do that, considering how sluggish he's kind of looked for most of his first 3 seasons.
Yeah. Well, now the other piece of news coming in Jets world is that Woody Johnson is back from London. How is that going to impact Joe Douglas and the entire staff?
Yeah, that's a great point. I wrote about that this morning on NJ.com. Woody Johnson was actually on his plane back from the UK yesterday during Robert Saleh's introductory press conference. So Robert Saleh has actually never spoken to Woody Johnson, who is now his new boss, which will create an interesting dynamic. I think if you look at this, obviously Woody Johnson did not hire, Joe Douglas did not hire Robert Saleh. Christopher Johnson, his younger brother and the acting owner, did. but I don't think this means anything tough for them, Robert Saleh or Joe Douglas, right now. I think if you look at this, Joe Douglas will get at least the next 2 years to try to fix the Jets. He's under contract through 2024. Robert Saleh is under contract through 2025. So the soonest I think that Woody Johnson could move on from Joe Douglas would be after the 2022 season. These next 2 off seasons will be huge for Joe Douglas in the draft and free agency to try to fix this thing. And but yeah, I mean, it's a little awkward having a boss coming back from across the ocean who you've never even talked to in the case of Robert Saleh. But he said he's not worried about it, which is what you'd expect him to say. It'll be interesting to see how the dynamic works because Christopher Johnson will still be involved, heavily involved in Florham Park at Jets headquarters, more so than he was before Woody Johnson took that ambassador job. So they'll be working together. But as Christopher said yesterday on the Zoom call for Robert Saleh's press conference, Woody has the final say once again.
Yeah, and Robert Saleh, look, he was, in my opinion, the most sought after assistant coach, right, in this head coaching search. So I don't think there's going to be any problems. I think with both NFL teams in the area, the Jets and the Giants, the future is bright with these young head coaches.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of reason to have hope for both Joe Judge and Robert Saleh. And then you mentioned it earlier. Joe Judge is also a CEO type head coach. He came from the Patriots where he was special teams coordinator. So he doesn't call offensive or defensive plays either. He can see the big picture of the game. I think there's a lot of hope that fans should have in these coaches. I think where fans need to look at this and say, hey, we need to see more, is the talent acquisition by the general managers. Dave Gettleman with the Giants, Joe Douglas with the Jets. Joe Douglas, like I said, will have these next 2 off seasons because he's really only had one full off season. He'll have these next 2 off seasons to build it up. I think as Giants fans look at Dave Gettleman, they can kind of go both ways. He didn't have a lot of success outside of Saquon Barkley drafting him until last off season. He made some nice moves. So you have to have players to win in the NFL no matter how good your coach is. So the Jets and the Giants, the fans should feel like, hey, we have this piece here, a good young leader as our head coach. Let's see if the general manager can actually deliver some players for this guy because that's a huge part of the recipe.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, it is championship weekend in the NFL. Who are your picks to go to the Super Bowl?
I would love to see the Bills continue this magical run. I think they'll play a close, high-scoring game against the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs win by, say, 3 points there. In the Packers-Bucks game, that's 1-1. I mean, Todd Bowles, Elizabeth, New Jersey native, defensive coordinator for the Bucks and former Jets head coach, has his hands full at Lambeau Field with Aaron Rodgers. But I think in that case, another one that would be a fantastic story either way because Aaron Rodgers has only played in 1 Super Bowl. I think the Packers win that one probably by 10 to 14 points. The Bucks just won't be able to keep up. But folks in New Jersey certainly will be watching and rooting for Todd Bowles, who's from Elizabeth.
Do you think Jet fans, though, would be happy to see Todd Bowles and the Bills in a Super Bowl?
Well, I think that they would not be happy to see the Bills in the Super Bowl because that would sort of further underscore the fact that the Jets made a mistake by not taking Josh Allen in the 2018 draft. For Todd Bowles, he is a guy who had a great deal of dignity during his time with the Jets. He didn't embarrass himself. He didn't embarrass the franchise. He just couldn't win enough. I think on a human level, people would be happy for him. The Bucs aren't a team that the Jets compete with, in terms of a rivalry like the Bills are. So I think Jets fans, at least a segment of them, would be happy for Todd Bowles to see him get into the Super Bowl for the first time as a head coach. The Bills, not so much, just because of the rivalry there in the AFC.
I can't imagine that. But Darryl, this was so much fun. Thank you so much. We hope to have you back on soon as more hot stove football news heats up.
Sure thing. Anytime.
Thanks, Darryl.